Question 55. Would you like your spouse to be both smarter and more attractive than you? Well, if you were asking these questions at a dinner party, it's quite likely that there'll be married people around the table, and so their hands would be rather tied. But I'm not married, so in my case, it is a would. So would I like my spouse to be both smarter? Now, by smart, they mean this in the American sense. They don't mean more formally dressed. They mean cleverer. So would I like to marry someone who is both cleverer and more attractive than I am? Well, more attractive, yeah. Great. I mean, where's the downside there? She's more attractive than I am, so I get to look at her and think, wow, is she really my wife? And some might say, but you might lose her. You might have to, compete for her so much more because other men would find her attractive. Well, yeah, but she's chosen me, right? I mean, it's not setting a very high bar, admittedly. She only has to be more attractive than me. But even so, she's chosen me. In that case, it's keeping me on my toes. If I have to work a bit harder to keep her, well, great, maybe I will put more effort into being the good husband that she chose to marry in the first place, and by just carrying on being that, then I keep her. So it spurs me on, and yeah, she's more attractive than I am. Well, good Lord, can you imagine if she were less attractive than me? Oh, shudder. No. So that's easy. Now, would I want her to be cleverer than me? Well, why not? What's the downside? If she's wiser than I am, and she loves me and wants to keep the marriage going, well, I get the benefit of her wisdom, don't I? That's great. But what is it to be more intelligent than me? Is she more intelligent than me in every single way? I mean, that's possible, but it's really unlikely. I mean, partly because I'm actually quite bright. I mean, I don't want to brag here, but I'm measurably above average in intelligence. Now, I've had several IQ tests, and I would take the results of them with a massive pinch of salt because they were very, very variable. But the lowest was 130. I've scored 147, 160. There was one which gave a crazy high one, which I think that was just rubbish. But anyway, they're all. I'm reasonably bright, and when I meet other reasonably bright people, and we seem to be on this, you can recognise someone who's bright. And I've certainly met people, and realised, oh wow, this person is not very bright. People vary in intelligence, and yeah, I'm brighter than the average. I'm not claiming to be a genius, but I'm bright enough so that meeting someone who's brighter than me in every single way starts to get a bit unlikely, frankly. Now, maybe she's way better than me at maths, say. Okay, well, great. If ever I need to know the square root of 217 in a hurry, don't have a calculator to hand, I'll ask her. If she's more intelligent than me in some way, how is that bad? I mean, I get that person and that person's intelligent as a resource in my life. Great. Would I find it intimidating? I don't think so. I mean, is she using her intelligence in order to intimidate me? Okay, that would be annoying, but that's her being a bit of a git-ess, frankly. That's not her being cleverer than me. That's her using her intelligence badly. If she's manipulative, perhaps, very subtly manipulative, and uses her greater intelligence to manipulate me into doing things that... Why would she manipulate me into doing things that are to my disadvantage? If we're in a marriage together, that would be weird. That would not be wise. So she perhaps might manipulate me into doing things that are to our advantage. So, okay, well done her. I mean, I'd rather she just ask straightforwardly. I don't really have... Oh, I've just thought. Yeah, right. Years ago, I was sitting in a pub. I think we were having Sunday lunch. I was a teenager, and yes, Americans, you can go to a pub in your teens in Britain. That's normal, and it's fine, and it's great. Anyway, I was there with my mother and an American couple. One of them was the son, or one of them was the daughter of my father's neighbour when he lived in America, something like that. Anyway, an American couple, and I told a joke. I I can even remember what joke it was, actually. I can't remember the particular form in which I told it, because it's one of those jokes that you can adapt to almost any situation. But you say, how can you tell the X of a Y? Maybe it was, how can you tell the sex of a budgerigar, for example? Well, it's very simple. You put a load of feed in front of it. Now, if it's a he, he'll eat it. But if it's a she will. My mother burst out laughing immediately. I think it's a funny joke. And it's one of those, as I say, very adaptable jokes. I've used it in lots of different contexts with something else for budgerigar. You know, replace as you wish. But the format is a great format. It works. Anyway, my mother immediately burst out laughing. The American woman was, huh? What? Huh? And her husband looked really worried. And he was... he looked so worried. And I then had the remarkable experience of watching a man who, I was in my teens, he was in his, I would think, mid-30s, spending the next several minutes trying to explain a joke to his wife that he hadn't understood. And I think it was immediately apparent to me and my mother that he had not understood this joke. But I've never seen this with British people, but it seemed to be an American thing, that he saw it as his manly, husbandly duty to understand the joke and explain it to his wife. But he couldn't, because he hadn't got the joke, and it was quite clear that he hadn't. And every time I dropped a tiny bit of information, he would pounce on it immediately. So when his wife said, it's a dirty joke, right? It's a dirty joke? And he was, oh, well, I wouldn't... because he didn't know. And then I would say, no, it's not a dirty... And as soon as those few syllables were out of my mouth, he pounced on them. And no, it's not a dirty joke. It's not a dirty joke. And it's continued for... And for me, it was an extraordinary experience. And I found it, I'm afraid, rather amusing. But I don't want to be that guy. I don't feel I have to be the one in charge, the one... I'd like to feel that I can make her feel safe and looked after and all those things, but it's possible, if you're reasonably bright, to do that with someone who's brighter again. So, yes. The answer is, would I like my spouse to be both smarter and more attractive than me? You could say it's a bit unrealistic, and that why the hell would she choose me? But on the other hand, if she has chosen me and she is much cleverer than me, well, there must be something she's seen in me that perhaps I hadn't seen. And that's adorable.